Welcome to News West 9's West Texas View with Johnny Lou Avery.
We're so glad to have you join us today, and you're going to enjoy meeting John Cain. Paul Cain, who is coming to represent Midland Shared Spaces. For the last 18 or so weeks, we've had a series of programs about the tenants, the nonprofit tenants that occupy this new concept in Midland. And so he is the chairman of the board, and it's a real pleasure to have you with us today, Paul. And before we get started, I want you to talk a little bit about you. Tell us, have you always lived in Midland?
I could never find the road out of Midland. So I'm a fourth generation Midlander. My family moved out of here, in 1920, believe it or not, way before oil. And so we were, out here before oil, pre-oil.
Scratching the ground.
Scratching the ground, trying to make a living out in dry land farming. So, but yeah, 6 generations of my family have called Midland home, and I think it's the best city in America. So no, I'll never leave Midland.
And you want to make this a better place for your children that follow it.
Absolutely. I've got 2 young daughters, 10, 13, and I tell them every day that's one of my part of the things I want to do with my life is make sure we create a community they want to raise their kids in, and they want to raise their kids in. So I hope we're, building a community. We'll have 7 or 8 or 10 generations of Cains that'll call Midland home.
And it's certainly evident that you have this enthusiasm and devotion to Midland because you've been involved in so many things to make Midland stronger. So tell us a little bit about some of those things that you've been involved in.
Gosh, I guess my volunteer life probably started down at the Midland Chamber of Commerce. I was there on the board for 7 years, served as chair 1 year. I've been involved with Midland Fair Havens, served as their past chair, Bynum School. Really kind of have a passion for kids, education, because I have young children, and so I've worked on Raise a Hope, hospice, variety of organizations around town, Leadership Midland, Partners in Education.
But tell me what your occupation is.
I'm a retirement plan consultant. We work with companies. We do employer-sponsored retirement plans. So,
great.
So I do my nonprofit work. My volunteer work's much more exciting than my day job. So it is most times the case. But.
Well, I want us to review, and we do this almost every week since we've been having the Midland Shared Spaces, but review with us how this vision came about and how it got started.
Well, like most things in Midland, it starts from the community recognizing a need. And then, garnering support and mobilizing to meet the need. And the need that we saw really has been around for a decade or more in Midland, was that we saw that, nonprofits often were given kind of what was left over in terms of office space, in terms of office furniture, and really were in a situation a lot of times where they were being displaced because, as you know, Midland is growing, economically, and so you have business owners of different buildings that might come in and renovate the building, and suddenly the nonprofit went from having free space to you need to pay Class A space, and they're being displaced. And so it really just kind of came out of that need in the community to provide a sustainable office space and collaborative environment for the nonprofit community.
And funders stepped in, like Abel Hanger, that came in and said, this is a worthwhile project, and we're going to be partners in this.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many superheroes on this team. I mean, but Abel really stood up and they not only do they provide the financial resources, but they went above and beyond. They actually hired somebody, Mark Palmer, who was in charge and actually spent 100% of his time working on this project for about 3 years, researching what was available elsewhere in the country and bringing this thing to life, assembling the team that we have on our board today.
And if I understand correctly, there's about 200 of these kinds of projects across the nation. And now they're coming to us and saying, wow, you did it better with more class and with more forethought than than we did, and so
Right.
we're going to learn from you, the new kid on the block.
You're exactly right. I mean, you know, that to me, being a prideful Midlander, that doesn't come as a huge surprise to
That's
me. You know, I always like to think we do everything better.
Better in
but
West Texas.
You're exactly right. I mean, we were invited recently to participate in a training where we had other communities tie into us through technology, and we actually presented our business model to them, how we got it started, and what we're doing. And I think you're right. I mean, we've done things that these other 200 centers across the country have not attempted. And we've done the things that have been attempted in a real high, better organized fashion. So it's been exciting. I mean, we're an infant organization in all respects. I mean, we opened our doors in January of this year. So for the National Association to come and say, hey, this is the way, if you're going to do one of these, this is the way you ought to do it. Come learn from this group is pretty exciting for us.
And the fact that you're 8 months into this project, but you started with this great vision of saying, we want to do it right, and so that means furniture, that means we're going to supply technology, that means we're going to supply the shared spaces
Right.
that they can all utilize and that the community will utilize.
That's exactly right. I mean, it was, it would have been easy to offer just office space. You know, that would have been an easier task to do. But we had some real community partners that stepped up to help us with furniture. Concho Resource, for example, donated a great deal of office furniture to us, and nice stuff.
Yeah,
it wasn't what the nonprofit typically gets, which is the legs off that, so you can have it. Now, this was nice, high quality stuff. So the offices or the suites at Shared Spaces are all fully furnished. They do come with IT services and an IT director that oversees all of that for the entire building.
And helps them have professional web pages and things like that.
Exactly.
And adds it. Well, the other thing that when I was watching this come into being, there were several things that I thought was really above and beyond. And we're going to talk about those when we come back after the break. It's time for a break right now. We'll be back in just a minute.
Stay tuned. West Texas View will be right back.